Hey y'all, how are y'all doing, beautiful people? Before we get started, let me apologize for the late release of this video today. We are on day 15. Whoop! I am very honored to have gotten to go and be a part of a street ministry with some of my brothers and sisters in Christ. We got to go out to Quinlan with From the Streets to the Streets, and also Stand for Christ. We got to serve the Rolling Oaks community in Quinlan, Texas, and it was just such a blessing and privilege to be able to go out and just love like Jesus. It was so awesome, and I just want to thank Leah and Daniel for inviting me to join in that. It was really special to me, and I appreciate y'all. And man, the Holy Spirit just moved through that whole place, and it was just such a blessing. With that said, the reason I'm delayed today is because I got to go do some ministry today with my brothers and sisters in Christ. And then after that, I had one thing after another to do, because I am a real person and I have actual life to tend to. But I did promise that I would not skip a day, and even though it's late in the day, better late than never, right? So here we go. We are reading the Life Application Study Bible, 3rd edition, the New Living Translation. We are going to pick up today at Genesis 36. We're going to read 36 through 38, and then we're going to flip over to Matthew chapter 10 and finish off that chapter. So, if y'all are ready, here we go. Genesis 36. This is the account of the descendants of Esau, also known as Edom. Esau married 2 young women from Canaan, Ada, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Oholibamah, the daughter of Anna and granddaughter of Zibeon the Hivite. He also married his cousin Basemath, who was the daughter of Ishmael and the sister of Nebaioth. Ada gave birth to a son named Eliphaz for Esau. Basemath gave birth to a son named Reuel. Oholibamah. Y'all know me in these words. Look, I'm trying. Y'all just bear with me. Not everybody has schooling on these words in the Bible, okay? I'm doing the best I can. Anyways, Oholibamah gave birth to sons named Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. All these sons were born to Esau in the land of Canaan. Esau took his wives, his children, and his entire household, along with his livestock and cattle, all the wealth he had acquired in the land of Canaan, and moved away from his brother Jacob. There was not enough land to support them both because of all the livestock and possessions they had acquired. So Esau, also known as Edom, settled in the hill country of Seir. Seir? Whatever. This is the account of Esau's descendants, the Edomites, who lived in the hill country of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons. Oh, here we go. Eliphaz, son of Esau's wife Ada, and Reuel, the son of Esau's wife Basemath. The descendants of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. Timnah, the concubine of Esau's son Eliphaz, gave birth to a son named Amalek. These are the descendants of Esau's wife Ada. The descendants of Reuel. Thank you. Where were we? The descendants of Reuel were Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These are the descendants of Esau's wife, Basemath. Esau also had sons through Oholibamah, the daughter of Anna and granddaughter of Zibeon. Their names were Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the descendants of Esau who became the leaders of various clans. Goodness gracious. See, this is the part of the Bible where people start getting frustrated and start skipping over stuff. But we're not going to do that. We're like, look, we're going to tough through this, and it's going to be all right. Like, some might say, why do I need to know all this? But it doesn't really matter. If it's written, we're going to read it. All right? Once we get through it, you don't never have to try to read it again. But we're going to get through it. So here we go. The descendants of Esau's older son, Eliphaz, became the leaders of the clans of Teman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz, Korah, Gatam, and Amalek. These are the clan leaders in the land of Edom who descended from Eliphaz. All these were descendants of Esau's wife Ada. The descendants of Esau's son Reuel became the leaders of the clans of Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These are the clans leaders in the land of Edom who descended from Reuel. All these were descendants of Esau's wife Basemath. You know, I could pronounce it Basemath, but I'm pretty sure that's not correct. I'm pretty sure how I'm pronouncing it ain't correct, but whatever. Y'all get the picture. The descendants of Esau and his wife Oholibamah became the leaders of the clans of Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the clan leaders who descended from Esau's wife Oholibamah, the daughter of Anna. These are the clans descended from Esau, also known as Edom, identified by their clan leaders. Oh man, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. But here we go. These are the names of the tribes that descended from Seir the Horite. They lived in the land of Edom: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishon. These were the Horite clan leaders, the descendants of Seir, who lived in the land of Edom. The descendants of Lotan were Hori and Himem. Lotan's sister was named Timnah. The descendants of Shobal were Alvin. Why can't there be more easy names like that in the Bible? Alvin. That's easy. Like, can we get some more of them? But no. Here we go. Alvin, Manahath, Ebal, Shepho, and Onam. The descendants of Zibeon's wife, the descendants of Zibeon were Aiah and Anah. This is the Anah who discovered the hot springs in the wilderness while he was grazing his father's donkeys. The descendants of Anah were his son Dishon and his daughter Oholibamah. The descendants of Dishon were Hemdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Kiran. The descendants of Ezer were Bilhan, Zavan, and Achan. The descendants of Dishon were Uz and Aaron. So these were the leaders of the Horite clans: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. The Horite clans are named after their clan leaders who lived in the land of Seir. Rulers of Edom. These are the kings who ruled in the land of Edom before any king ruled over the Israelites. Bela, son of Beor, who ruled in Edom from his city in Tinaba, When Bela died, Jacob, son of Zerah from Basra, became king in his place. When Jacob died, Husham from the land of the Temanites became king in his place. When Husham died, Hadad, son of Bedad, became king in his place and ruled from the city of Avith. He was the one who defeated the Midianites in the land of Moab. When Hadad died, Samlah from the city of Masrekah became king in his place. When Samlah died, Shaul from the city of Rehoboth on the river became king in his place. From the city of Rehoboth on the river. Okay. When Shaul died, Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, became king in his place. When Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, died, Hadad became king in his place and ruled from the city of Pau. His wife was Mehetabel, the daughter of Matred and granddaughter of Mezahab. These are the names of the leaders of the clans descended from Esau who lived in the places named for them: Timnah, Alva, Jetheth, Aholibama, Ella, Pinan, Kenaz, Teman, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Aram. These are the leaders of the clans of Edom listed according to their settlements in the land they occupied. They all descended from Esau, the ancestor of the Edomites. Y'all, it took me like 12 minutes to just get through that. Whew, goodness gracious. But we made it through. See, I told y'all we'd make it through. We're going to keep pushing. Chapter 37. So, oh y'all, this is a good story. Just wait. Like, this is a good story. Y'all gonna like this. I mean, sometimes you got to get through the tough stuff to get to the real juicy stuff. Old Testament stories are super juicy. Like, for real. So, anyways, here we go. Chapter 37. So Jacob settled again in the land of Canaan, where his father had lived as a foreigner. This is the account of Jacob and his family. When Joseph was 17 years old, he often tended his father's flocks. He worked for his half-brothers, the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children, because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a word. They couldn't say a word to him. Envy, man. One night, Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. "Listen to this dream," he said. "We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly, my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before mine." His brothers responded, "So you think you'll be our king, do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about them. Soon Joseph had another dream, and again he told his brothers about it. "Listen, I've had another dream," he said. "The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me." This time he told the dream to his father as well as his brothers. But his father scolded him. "What kind of dream is that?" he asked. Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow to the ground before you?" But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what the dreams meant. Soon after this, Joseph's brothers went to pasture their father's flocks at Shechem. When they had been gone for some time, Jacob said to Joseph, "Your brothers are pasturing the sheep at Shechem. Get ready, and I will send you to them." I'm ready to go, Joseph replied. Go and see how your brothers and the flocks are getting along, Jacob said. Then come back and bring me a report. So Jacob sent him on his way, and Joseph traveled to Shechem from their home in the valley of Hebron. When he arrived there, a man from the area noticed him wandering around the countryside. What are you looking for? He asked. I'm looking for my brothers, Joseph replied. Do you know where they're pasturing their sheep? Yes, the man told him. They have moved on from here, but I heard them say, let's go on to Dothan. So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan and found them there. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. As he approached, they made plans to kill him. Here comes the dreamer, they said. Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father a wild animal has eaten him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams. But when Reuben heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. Let's not kill him, he said. Why should we shed any blood? Let's just throw him into this empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our laying a hand on him. Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off the beautiful robe he was wearing. Then they grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. Then, just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming toward them. It was a group of Ishmaelite traders taking a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, what will we gain by killing our brother? We have to cover up the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ishmaelite traders. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. And his brothers agreed. So when the Ishmaelites, who were Midianite traders, came by, Joseph's brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver. And the traders took him to Egypt. Ain't that something? Like, what? It'd be your own family. It'd be your own family do you the worst. I'm telling you right now. Like, even from personal experience, your own family be doing you worse than anybody else. I mean, his own brother sold him into slavery, bro. What? Yeah. Sometime later, Reuben returned to get Joseph out of the cistern. When he discovered that Joseph was missing, he tore his clothes in grief. Then he went back to his brothers and lamented, the boy is gone. What will I do now? Then the brothers killed a young goat and dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. They sent the beautiful robe to their father with this message. Look what we found. Doesn't this robe belong to your son? Their father recognized it immediately. Yes, he said, it is my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him. Joseph has clearly been torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes and dressed himself in burlap. He mourned deeply for his son for a long time. His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. I will go to my grave mourning for my son, he would say, and then he would weep. Meanwhile, the Midianite traders arrived in Egypt, where they sold Joseph to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Potiphar was the captain of the palace guard. It just makes me feel so bad for Jacob because, like, man, I could not imagine losing a child, but to think that my child got torn to shreds and eaten alive by a wild animal and not have anything other than a bloody robe, you know, like that, of course, he's devastated. I would be absolutely shaken after that. Like, I don't think I could recover from something like that. Like, as far as, like, the heartbreak that you would feel, you know, like the Bible said straight up, Joseph was Jacob's favorite son. So, yeah, you know, that really hurt him. So you got to think that when his brothers did all this to him, they weren't just hurting him, but they were also hurting their own father. Like, they did it without any consideration for anybody else's feelings. You know, they only thought about themselves. And that's the problem with the world today. Everybody's really selfish. Like, I don't care what my actions do to the next person because it's not hurting me directly. You know, what they don't realize, which we'll get to in a minute, is that what they meant for evil, God meant for good. The Bible says that, well, we're reading the Bible, so we'll get to that part. I'm not trying to give y'all no spoiler alerts, but I'm just saying, like, Satan's coming after us from every angle, and he's intending harm. But the weapon can be formed, but it can't prosper. It'll never prosper because the victory belongs to God, you know? So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anybody does to you or how anybody treats you. That's just what's happening right there in that moment. But it's all happening as a part of the bigger plan, you know? You can't control someone else's actions or the reaction that you have from it. But what you can control is your faith in God, you know? Like, I know that no matter what I'm going through, God is going to pull me through it, period. And that's where Joseph is at. He, you know, which we're about to get to. I'm just saying, you'll see that Joseph had such faith. Like, his faith is what's going to get him through this next part of his life, you know? And then we'll see later on how God took this thing that his brothers meant for evil and turned it for his good. But for right now, let's see what Joseph is about to go through. Well, I don't know if we're going to get that far. We'll see. Genesis 38. About this time, Judah left home and moved to Adullam, where he stayed with a man named Hira. There he saw a Canaanite woman, the daughter of Shua, and he married her. When he slept with her, she became pregnant and gave birth to a son, and he named the boy Er. Then she became pregnant again and gave birth to another son, and she named him Onan. And when she gave birth to a third son, she named him Shelah. At the time of Shelah's birth, they were living in Kezib. In the course of time, Judah arranged for his firstborn son, Er, to marry a young woman named Tamar. But Er was a wicked man in the Lord's sight. So the Lord took his life. Then, this is a good story. Well, we're going to get back to Joseph in a minute later on in just a second and see what happened to him. But this story right here is really good too. So, this one of them stories that, like, you read it in the Bible, but they don't actually talk about it in church. I mean, there's a lot of really good stories in the Bible. You hear the basics at church. Moses, you know, Jacob, Abraham. But you don't hear these stories like this right here I'm about to tell y'all in church. But I'm not just telling the story. I'm reading it to you straight out of the Bible. And, like, you don't hear these at church. But this is a good story. Anyways, so, let's see. But Er was a wicked man in the Lord's sight, so the Lord took his life. Then Judah said to Er's brother Onan, "Go and marry Tamar, as our law requires of the brother of a man who has died. You must produce an heir for your brother." But Onan was not willing to have a child who would not be his own heir. So whenever he had intercourse with his brother's wife, he spilled the semen on the ground. This prevented her from having a child who would belong to his brother. But the Lord considered it evil for Onan to deny a child to his dead brother. So the Lord took Onan's life too. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Go back to your parents' home and remain a widow until my son Shelah is old enough to marry you." But Judah didn't really intend to do this because he was afraid Shelah would also die, like his two brothers. So Tamar went back to live in her father's home. Some years later, Judah's wife died. After the time of mourning was over, Judah and his friend Hira, the Adulamite, went up to Timnah to supervise the shearing of his sheep. Someone told Tamar, "Look, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep." Tamar was aware that Shelah had grown up, but no arrangements had been made for her to come and marry him. So she changed out of her widow's clothing and covered herself with a veil to disguise herself. Then she sat beside the road at the entrance of the village of Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah. Judah noticed her and thought she was a prostitute since she had covered her face. So he stopped and propositioned her. "Let me have sex with you," he said, not realizing that she was his own daughter-in-law. What? Yeah, just wait, y'all, just wait. "I'll send you a young goat from my flock," Judah promised. "But what will you give me to guarantee that you will send the goat?" she asked. "What kind of guarantee do you want?" he replied. She answered, "Leave me your identification seal and its cord and the walking stick you are carrying." So Judah gave them to her. Then he had intercourse with her, and she became pregnant. Afterwards, she went back home, took off her veil, and put on her widow's clothing as usual. Later, Judah asked his friend Hira, the Adulamite, to take the young goat to the woman and to pick up the things he had given her as his guarantee. But Hira couldn't find her, so he asked the men who lived there, "Where can I find the shrine prostitute who was sitting beside the road at the entrance to Enaim?" "We've never had a shrine prostitute here," they replied. So Hira returned to Judah and told him, "I couldn't find her anywhere, and the men of the village claimed they've never had a shrine prostitute here." "Then let her keep the things I gave her," Judah said. "I sent the young goat as we agreed, but you couldn't find her. We'd be the laughing stock of the village if we went back again to look for her." About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has acted like a prostitute, and now because of this, she's pregnant. Bring her out and let her be burned," Judah demanded. But as they were taking her out to kill her, she sent this message to her father-in-law: "The man who owns these things made me pregnant. Look closely. Whose seal and cord and walking stick are these?" Judah recognized them and immediately said, "She is more righteous than I am, because I didn't arrange for her to marry my son Shelah." And Judah never slept with Tamar again. When the time came for Tamar to give birth, it was discovered that she was carrying twins. While she was in labor, one of the babies reached out his hand. The midwife grabbed it and tied a scarlet string around the child's wrist, announcing, "This one came out first." But then he pulled his hand back, and out came his brother. "What?" the midwife exclaimed. "How did you break out first?" So he was named Perez. Then the baby with the scarlet string on his wrist was born, and he was named Zerah. Crazy stuff in the Bible, huh? I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Look, there's some good stuff in here. There's some real good stuff in here, man. But, so we end right there in Genesis. I can't wait to get back to the Joseph story, man. It's so, so good. But I really did like that story too. It's one of my favorites. Tamar says she wasn't playing. You ain't just gonna play her. You know what the law says. Anyways, let's flip over to Matthew. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm tired. It's been a long day. Matthew chapter 10, verses 21 through 42. This is all red letters, y'all. This is all Jesus words. This is all Jesus talking. So let's dig in. "A brother will betray his brother to death. A father will betray his own child, and children will rebel against their parents and cause them to be killed. And all nations will hate you because you are my followers. But everyone who endures to the end will be saved. When you are persecuted in one town, flee to the next. I tell you the truth, the Son of Man will return before you have reached all the towns of Israel. Students are not greater than their teacher, and slaves are not greater than their master. Students are to be like their teacher, and slaves are to be like their master. And since I, the master of the household, have been called the prince of demons, the members of my household will be called by even worse names. But don't be afraid of those who threaten you, for the time is coming when everything that is covered will be revealed, and all that is secret will be made known to all. What I tell you now in the darkness, shout abroad when daybreak comes. What I whisper in your ear, shout from the housetops for all to hear. Don't be afraid of those who want to kill your body. They cannot touch your soul. Fear only God, who can destroy both soul and body in hell. What is the price of 2 sparrows? 1 copper coin. But not a single sparrow can fall to the ground without your Father knowing it. And the very hairs on your head are numbered. And the very hairs on your head are numbered. That's how well he knows you. The very hairs on your head are numbered. Man, that's powerful right there. So don't be afraid. You are more valuable to God than a whole flock of sparrows. You are so valuable. Like, he just wants us to know, like, how important we are to God. Like, he can count, he knows the number of hairs on your head. You know how many people are in the world? And God knows the very number of hairs on every one of our heads. Like, that's how important we are, yo. That's love right there. Because I can't remember small details about anybody I know. I most certainly would not know the number of hairs on their head. How about you? There's only one being that can give you that kind of love. And that's God, man. Anyway, verse 32. Everyone who acknowledges me publicly here on earth, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But everyone who denies me here on earth, I will also deny before my Father in heaven. Oh, I say it loud. I'm proud to be a follower of Jesus Christ. Don't imagine that I came to bring peace to the earth. I came not to bring peace, but a sword. I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Your enemies will be right in your own household. If you love your father or mother more than you love me, you are not worthy of being mine. Or if you love your son or daughter more than me, you are not worthy of being mine. If you refuse to take up your cross and follow me, you are not worthy of being mine. If you cling to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find it. That's one of the most powerful statements in the Bible. I don't care what you say. Like, that's real, true facts. Jesus said that. Like, you can't love nothing more than you love Jesus. Are you willing to lay your life down for him? Because he laid his life down for you. Anyone who receives you receives me. And anyone who receives me receives the Father who sent me. If you receive a prophet as one who speaks for God, you will be given the same reward as a prophet. And if you receive righteous people because of their righteousness, you will be given a reward like theirs. And if you give even a cup of cold water to one of the least of my followers, you will surely be rewarded. Man, like, I just love Jesus. I love the Bible. I love how I feel after reading it. I love the power in the words of the Bible. It's the living word. Like, this is Jesus said that. If you receive him, you receive the Father who sent him. Accept Jesus into your heart. The only way to the Father is through the Son. Accept Jesus into your heart. If you haven't already, I encourage you to today. Lay it all down, man. Lay it at the feet of Jesus. He's so ready to receive you. Like he's got his arms wide open just waiting on your yes. Man. That's all for today, guys. Like I said, I'm sorry it's so late. I just want to remind y'all, first off, if you want to see the change, you got to be the change. You can't expect to see chains getting broke and generational curses being broke off if you're not willing to first step into obedience yourself. You can't pray for someone else to get their life right if you yourself are not getting your own life right. You know? And if it ain't a God thing, then it ain't a good thing. So, with that said, y'all have a wonderful, blessed rest of the evening. And don't forget, love like Jesus.